chosen one. Why does your heart feel heavier on Thursday nights? Why does the anticipation of Friday feel more like dread than deliverance? Why have you been programmed to believe that joy only comes after you've endured another week of spiritual emptiness? Stop everything you think you know about this day. If this message has found you today, it's not by accident. Heaven pressed pause on your ordinary Friday to tell you something extraordinary. The enemy has been lying to you about this day, convincing you it's just another end to another week. But Friday is God's divine climax, the crescendo where breakthrough breaks through. You've been walking through your weeks like a prisoner counting down to temporary freedom. But what if I told you that Friday isn't your escape, it's your entrance? Not into weekend relief, but into divine revelation. Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to discover. While the world sees Friday as the finish line, heaven sees it as the starting gun. While others are winding down, you, chosen one, are about to wind up. Because Friday carries a frequency that only the spiritually awakened can hear. Right now, as these words penetrate your spirit, something is shifting in the realm of the unseen. The atmospheric pressure around your life is changing. Can you feel it? That stirring in your chest isn't anxiety, it's anticipation. It's your soul recognizing that this isn't just another Friday sermon you stumbled across on your phone. This is your divine appointment with joy. Before we journey deeper into this sacred moment together, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through Super Thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. If this is hitting your spirit right now, if something deep inside you just whispered, "This is for me," don't just listen passively. Participate prophetically. Type 777 below. Whisper Amen where you're sitting. Because your action today isn't just engagement, it's your agreement with heaven that you're ready to receive what God has been holding back until this very Friday. The clock isn't just striking another day, beloved. It's striking your hour. And what unfolds in the next few minutes may not only transform your Friday, it may shift your entire destiny. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal about this day will shatter every limitation you've placed on God's ability to move mountains in your life. Starting now, your ordinary Friday just became extraordinary, and you'll never see this day the same way again. How many Friday afternoons have you sat in that same chair, staring at four walls that used to echo with laughter, but now only amplify your loneliness? How many times have you checked your phone, hoping for a call from children who are too busy building their own lives to remember you built yours around theirs? How many Fridays have become a cruel reminder that the golden years you dreamed of feel more like forgotten years? Dear one, I need you to hear something that might cut deep, but it's truth wrapped in love. You thought retirement would bring freedom, didn't you? You believed that after decades of sacrifice, of putting everyone else first, of working your fingers to the bone, Friday would finally mean something beautiful: rest, peace, joy. Instead, Friday has become a weight pressing down on your chest, the end of another week where nobody needed you, another 7 days where the phone didn't ring with good news, another cycle where you watched the world move on without you, as if your years of wisdom, your heart full of stories, your hands that built families and careers somehow don't matter anymore. You're not alone in this pain, chosen one. Right now, across America, millions of seniors are feeling exactly what you're feeling. That hollow ache that settles in when Friday evening arrives and there's nowhere to go, no one expecting you, no purpose calling your name. The silence isn't peaceful, it's piercing. The freedom isn't liberating, it's isolating. You've worked for 40, 50, maybe 60 years, believing that happiness was waiting for you at the finish line. But when you crossed it, happiness wasn't there to greet you. Instead, you found emptiness dressed up as leisure time. You found days that stretch endlessly with no one to fill them. You found Friday nights that used to mean family dinners, now meaning television dinners eaten alone. This isn't what you signed up for. This isn't the promise that was made to you. And if you're honest, brutally honest, you're angry. Angry that your children moved 3 states away and call once a month. Angry that your grandchildren know your voice through FaceTime but not your embrace. Angry that the church you served faithfully for decades somehow has less and less room for the elderly. Angry that society treats you like you're expired instead of experienced. But here's where the enemy has been playing his cruelest game with your heart. He's convinced you that this is normal, that this is just what happens when you get older. That isolation is inevitable, that being forgotten is natural, that Friday's weight is simply the price of aging in America. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Look at Job in the scriptures. This man lost everything on what must have felt like the worst Friday of his life. His children, his wealth, his health, his reputation gone. He sat in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery. While his friends told him he must have sinned to deserve such suffering, Job could have looked at his Friday and said, "This is it. I'm finished. God has forgotten me." But Job 19:25 records his declaration in the darkness, "I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth." Even in his deepest Friday pain, Job knew something was coming, something greater than his current circumstances. David understood Friday's weight too. 1 Samuel tells us he spent years hiding in caves, running from King Saul, watching Friday after Friday pass, while others sat on thrones, and he sat in shadows. Can you imagine the loneliness, the questioning? God, you anointed me king, but I'm living like a fugitive. Did I hear you wrong? Have you changed your mind? Yet Psalm 23 emerged from those cave-dwelling Fridays. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. David discovered that Friday's weight wasn't God's abandonment, it was God's preparation. And Joseph knew the sting of forgotten Fridays. Genesis 40-23 cuts to the heart. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. 2 more years in prison. 2 more years of Friday nights wondering if anyone in the world remembered his name. But Genesis 41-14 reveals the divine twist. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. God's timing isn't our timing, but his timing is always perfect timing. You see, dear one, you're not experiencing random suffering. You're experiencing strategic positioning. The Friday weight you've been carrying isn't evidence that God has forgotten you. It's evidence that he's been preparing you for something so significant, so powerful, so necessary for this moment in history that it required decades of refining. You think you're being put on the shelf, but you're being positioned for purpose. You think you're being forgotten, but you're being prepared. You think your Fridays are empty because you're not important anymore. But what if your Fridays have been quiet because God has been downloading something into your spirit that this world desperately needs? What if your loneliness has been developing your intimacy with the Almighty? What if your silence has been tuning your ear to hear his voice above the noise? What if your Friday nights alone with him have been preparing you to speak with an authority that only comes from walking through the valley and finding him faithful? The weight you've been carrying isn't punishment, chosen one, it's preparation. And that preparation is about to pay off in ways that will leave you breathless. If you've ever felt the crushing weight of Friday pressing down on your soul, if you've ever wondered if God sees you in your empty nest, if you've ever questioned whether your best days are truly behind you, I need you to declare something right now. Say it out loud where you're sitting. I'm still standing. That's not just words, beloved. That's your faith rising in defiance of every lie that tried to bury you. That's your spirit announcing that Friday's weight hasn't crushed you, it's compressed you into something unbreakable. But here's what's about to shock you about this very Friday. and why everything you thought you knew about this day is about to change forever. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. For decades, maybe your entire life, you've been looking at Friday all wrong. The world taught you to see it as an ending, the exhausted exhale after 5 days of struggle. But what if I told you that Friday isn't the period at the end of a sentence? What if Friday is the exclamation point at the beginning of God's next move in your life? You've been programmed by a culture that treats Friday like a finish line, but heaven designed it as a starting block. While everyone else is checking out, you're about to check into something supernatural. Because Friday carries a secret code that only the spiritually awakened can decipher. Think about this. What day did they crucify Jesus? Friday. Good Friday. The day that looked like the darkest defeat in human history. The disciples thought it was over. Mary wept because she believed love had lost. Even the sun refused to shine. Friday appeared to be the day hope died. But here's the revelation that will shatter your understanding of this day. Friday wasn't the ending of the story. It was the setup for Sunday's resurrection. The crucifixion wasn't God's defeat. It was his strategy. Friday's pain was Sunday's preparation. What if the exhaustion you feel every Friday isn't failure? What if it's preparation? What if the weight you carry to the end of each week isn't evidence that you're broken, but proof that you're being positioned for breakthrough? You see, beloved, the enemy has been playing mind games with you about Friday. He wants you to see it as the graveyard where your dreams go to die. But Friday is actually the garden where resurrection power takes root. It's the seedbed where Sunday's joy is planted. Right now, I need you to stop seeing Friday through tired eyes and start seeing it through prophetic vision. Every Friday you've endured. Every week you've survived. Every moment you've felt like giving up, it wasn't wasted. It was investment. Investment in character. Investment in strength. Investment in the kind of faith that can withstand Friday's crucifixion, because it knows Sunday's resurrection is coming. But here's where it gets personal. How many Fridays have you limped through, believing the lie that joy is reserved for other people? How many times have you looked at the clock at 5 p.m. on Friday and felt nothing but emptiness instead of excitement? How many weekends have you entered feeling spiritually bankrupt instead of spiritually blessed? The enemy convinced you that Friday is where happiness goes to die. But I'm here to tell you that Friday is where happiness goes to be reborn. Listen to what Jesus declared in John 16:20. You will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. Notice, he didn't say your grief might turn to joy. He said it will turn to joy. That transformation happens on Friday. The grief of the week becomes the setup for the joy of the breakthrough. What if the pain you've carried all week was only the labor pains before the birth of your blessing? What if the struggle was only the stretching before the blessing? What if Friday isn't where your strength runs out, but where God's strength shows up? Chosen one, I need you to understand something that will revolutionize how you see this day. The crucifixion happened on Friday, but the tomb was already empty in God's mind. Before the nails were driven, resurrection was already planned. Before Friday's tears fell, Sunday's joy was already secured. Your Friday doesn't determine your Sunday. Your Friday prepares your Sunday. Every week, millions of people drag themselves to Friday's doorstep, believing they're at the end of their rope. But you, chosen one, you're about to discover that Friday isn't the end of your rope, it's the beginning of your testimony. It's not where your story concludes, it's where your breakthrough commences. But here's the coded truth hidden in plain sight. Joy isn't delayed until Friday ends. Joy is embedded in Friday itself. Happiness isn't postponed until the weekend it's released. The moment you realize Friday is God's divine reset button for your life. What if the happiness you thought you missed this week is waiting at Friday's door? What if the breakthrough you've been praying for isn't coming next week, next month, or next year? What if it's coming today? What if Friday is heaven's way of saying, I saved the best for last? Isaiah 55:11 declares, So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. Every prayer you prayed this week, every tear you shed, every moment you held on when letting go, would have been easier those weren't ignored. They were investments in this Friday's breakthrough. You're not approaching the end of another mediocre week. You're approaching the climax of God's plan for your next 7 days. Friday isn't where things end, it's where heaven secretly begins. The code is breaking, chosen one. The pattern is shifting. Your ordinary Friday is about to become your extraordinary testimony. Type I receive it if you believe Friday is your turning point. Because what happens next will prove that God's been saving your breakthrough for the day you expected the least, and that day is today. Are you ready to discover why this Friday will rewrite everything you believed about happiness, breakthrough, and God's timing in your life? But before joy breaks in, beloved, let me speak to the storm you've been weathering. Because I know you didn't come to this message by accident. You came because Friday evenings have become the hardest part of your week. It's Friday, 6:47 p.m. The dinner table is set for one. Again, the phone sits silent on the kitchen counter like a monument to forgotten conversations. You glance at that empty chair, the one where Harold used to sit, where Margaret used to laugh, where 53 years of shared dreams used to live. The silence isn't just quiet, chosen one. It's deafening. It's louder than thunder, deeper than any storm you've ever weathered. You've been fighting battles that have no headlines, arthritis that steals your independence one morning at a time, blood pressure medication that costs more than groceries, children who move to California and call once a month if you're lucky, grandchildren who know your voice through FaceTime but not your embrace. Dear one, can I tell you something that might sting? You've been living in Good Friday without knowing Easter is coming. Jesus knew this darkness. Scripture tells us in Matthew 27:46 that even the Son of God cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" It was Friday, the darkest Friday in human history. Heaven went silent, earth trembled, and the Savior of the world felt the crushing weight of abandonment. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to remember. It was Friday when Jesus hung between heaven and earth, but Sunday was already written. Friday's pain was Saturday's preparation for Sunday's power. You've been living in the valleys so long you've forgotten there are mountains. You've been walking through the wilderness so long you've forgotten there's a promised land. You've been enduring Friday's silence so long you've forgotten Sunday's song. The medical bills pile up on your kitchen table like accusations. The insurance company denies another claim. The specialist says there's nothing more they can do. Your body is betraying you, your bank account is shrinking, and the world is moving so fast you can't keep up. Smartphones, self-checkout machines, passwords for everything. When did living become so complicated? But chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. What if your greatest pain is actually your greatest preparation? What if the emptiness you feel isn't evidence that God has forgotten you, but proof that He's making room for something bigger? Job sat in ashes for months, scraping his sores with broken pottery, wondering if God had turned his back. His friends accused him. His wife told him to curse God and die. But Job 14:14 records his faith cry, "If a man dies, will he live again? All the days of my hard service I will wait for my renewal to come." Your renewal is coming, beloved. It's been delayed, not denied. I'm talking to the 7-8-year-old widow in Minneapolis who hasn't felt beautiful in years. I'm speaking to the 8-3-year-old grandfather in Phoenix whose own children treat him like a burden. I'm reaching through this screen to the 7-1-year-old woman in Detroit who takes 17 pills every morning and wonders if anyone would notice if she just stopped. You matter. Your life has weight. Your breath has purpose. And this Friday carries a frequency of hope that's been tuned specifically for your weary soul. But here's what breaks my heart. You've been measuring your worth by your productivity instead of your presence. You think because you can't do what you used to do, you don't matter like you used to matter. The world has convinced you that value diminishes with age, that purpose expires with retirement, that your best days are archived in photo albums and memory boxes. That's a lie from the pit of hell. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain." Moses was 80 when he stood before Pharaoh. Anna was 84 when she prophesied over baby Jesus. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your qualification. Your wrinkles aren't signs of decline, they're maps of survival. Your slower step isn't weakness, it's wisdom taking its time. The enemy has been whispering in your ear for years. You're too old, you're too tired, you've missed your chance. God has moved on to younger vessels. But I hear the Spirit of the living God declaring something different over your life today. They shall still bear fruit in old age. They shall be fresh and flourishing. Psalm 90:2-14. Fresh and flourishing at 75. Fresh and flourishing at 85. Fresh and flourishing at 95. If you've ever sat in that Friday evening silence, if you've ever felt the weight of being forgotten, if you've ever whispered a name into the darkness of someone you lost, type their name below. Let's honor them. Let's remember them. Let's declare that love doesn't die when bodies do, that connection doesn't end when conversations stop, that their impact on your heart is still beating, still breathing, still blessing you even now. Because here's the mystery that will transform your Friday. You haven't been abandoned in the valley. You've been appointed in the valley. Every tear you've cried has been collected in heaven's bottles. Every sleepless night has been counted as worship. Every moment you've felt alone, God has been writing a story of endurance that will inspire generations you'll never meet. But the question that will determine everything is this: will you let Friday's silence convince you that God has gone quiet, or will you lean close enough to hear the whisper that's about to change everything? Listen to me, chosen one. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been believing a lie about this day. Every Friday evening, you've watched the sun set thinking, another week survived. Another stretch of emptiness endured. But what if I told you that Friday isn't the day your spirit dies, it's the day your destiny is delivered? You've been walking through life like a defendant waiting for sentencing, dreading Friday's verdict. But here's the revelation that will shatter your understanding. Friday is not your funeral, it is your furnace, and joy is forged in the fire. Right now, in the courtroom of heaven, the gavel is about to strike, not with condemnation, but with celebration. The angels have been whispering your name all week, preparing for this moment when the verdict of joy is released over your life. Do you hear it? That rumbling in the spiritual realm? That's not judgment coming, that's justice. Divine justice that declares your season of sorrow is over. But why Friday? Why does heaven choose this day to break through? Because Friday carries the DNA of breakthrough. Think about it. It was on a Friday that Jesus hung on that cross, looking like defeat, but orchestrating the greatest victory in human history. It was on a Friday that what looked like ending became the ultimate beginning. And now, chosen one, your Friday carries that same resurrection power. You've been programmed by a broken world to see Friday as relief from suffering. But God sees Friday as the release of his suffering, the pain he's felt watching you believe you're forgotten, abandoned, overlooked. Every Thursday night you've gone to bed, heavy-hearted. Every Friday morning you've awakened with that familiar ache in your chest. Heaven has been recording those tears. And now the books are being opened. The enemy thought he was clever, didn't he? Convincing you that happiness was for other people, that joy skipped your address, that peace was a luxury you couldn't afford. He whispered in your ear every Friday evening, "See, another week and still nothing changed. Still alone, still struggling, still invisible." But the devil made one fatal mistake. He showed his hand too early. By attacking your Fridays so viciously, he revealed that this day carries something he desperately wants to steal. And what the enemy steals, God restores. What the thief takes in secret, the Father returns in abundance. Right now, as I speak these words over your life, chains are breaking, not metaphorically, literally. In the spirit realm, the shackles that have bound your joy to past disappointments are snapping like twigs. The locks that have kept your happiness imprisoned in tomorrow are melting like wax. The walls that have separated you from the celebration of your own life are crumbling into dust. Can you feel it? That sensation in your chest isn't heartburn, it's your heart burning with holy anticipation. That electricity running through your veins isn't nerves, it's the nervous system of heaven downloading joy directly into your spiritual bloodstream. But here's what will shock you to your core. The happiness you thought was stolen has been standing at Friday's gate all along. While you've been mourning its absence, it's been mounting its return. While you've been declaring your defeat, it's been declaring your victory. Your joy didn't disappear, it relocated. It moved from your circumstances to your calling, from your situation to your spirit, from your external world to your eternal identity. Isaiah 61:3 promises beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. But notice God doesn't say he'll give you new beauty. He says he'll exchange your ashes for the beauty that was there all along, buried beneath the debris of disappointment. This Friday isn't bringing you happiness from somewhere else. This Friday is uncovering the happiness that's been buried inside you. Like an archaeologist brushing away centuries of dirt to reveal a priceless treasure, God is brushing away the accumulated weight of joyless Fridays to reveal the radiant reality of who you've always been. You are not a victim of your calendar. You are a victor over your circumstances. You are not at the mercy of your mood. You are the master of your mindset. And this Friday, this very Friday, is your evidence. The midnight hour is approaching, and when that clock strikes 12 tonight, something shifts in the spiritual atmosphere over your life. Angels have been dispatched with assignments that have your name written in golden letters. Breakthrough has been scheduled. Restoration has been programmed. Joy has been ordered to report for duty. But here's the key that unlocks everything. You must participate in your own liberation. You cannot remain passive while heaven moves actively. You cannot stay silent while angels are shouting your victory. You cannot whisper doubt while God is declaring your deliverance. Say it aloud right now, wherever you are. Whatever time you're watching this, open your mouth and declare, Friday will not bury me, it will bless me. Say it again, louder this time. Friday will not bury me, it will bless me. Let your own voice carry the authority of heaven into your atmosphere. Because chosen one, the happiness arriving today isn't visiting, it's moving in permanently. The joy breaking through isn't temporary, it's eternal. The celebration starting now isn't ending when Monday comes, it's establishing the new rhythm of your entire existence. But this is only the beginning. What I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how this Friday becomes the turning point that transforms not just your weekend, but rewrites the story of your remaining years. But here's what will shock you to your core, chosen one. You've been chasing happiness like it's something you have to earn, like it's a paycheck you collect after 5 days of suffering, like it's a reward waiting at the end of endless struggle. That's the greatest lie ever told. Happiness isn't something you work toward, it's something that finds you when you stop running from who God created you to be. Look at yourself right now. Really look. You've spent 70, 80, maybe 90 years believing that joy was conditional, that you had to deserve it, that you had to prove yourself worthy of peace. You've been carrying the weight of earning what was already yours by birthright. How many Friday evenings have you collapsed into your chair, exhausted, telling yourself, I'll be happy when the weekend comes? How many years have you postponed joy, thinking it would arrive with retirement, with the grandchildren's visits, with that moment when all the bills are paid and all the problems are solved? What if I told you that happiness has been circling your house like a faithful dog, waiting for you to open the door? You see, beloved, happiness isn't about what happens to you. It's about what happens through you when you align with God's presence. And Friday, this Friday, is the day heaven has chosen to remind you of this truth. The Bible declares in Psalm 30:5, Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Do you hear that? Joy comes. It doesn't wait for an invitation. It doesn't require permission. It comes like the sunrise, inevitable, unstoppable, transforming everything it touches. But here's what most people miss about that verse. The weeping, that dark night of the soul you've been walking through, it has an expiration date. And Friday morning is when that expiration arrives. Think about the storms you've weathered, the diagnosis that shook your faith, the spouse you buried too soon, the children who moved away and rarely call, the dreams that died before they could bloom, the nights you lay awake wondering if God had forgotten your address. That was your night season, but Friday dawns, and suddenly the colors look brighter, the air feels lighter, your breathing comes easier. Not because your circumstances changed overnight, but because heaven tilted in your favor. You wake up Friday morning and something is different. You can't put your finger on it, but the weight that's been pressing on your chest for months, maybe years, has lifted. The anxiety that used to grip you every morning when your eyes opened has been replaced by something you almost don't recognize. Peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from having all your problems solved. The kind of peace that comes from knowing that the one who holds your problems also holds your future. And he's been waiting for this Friday to remind you that happiness isn't a destination, it's your starting point. This is why Friday carries such power for you, chosen one. It's not the end of a hard week. It's the beginning of a new understanding, an awakening to the truth that joy doesn't come after the storm. Joy comes in the storm, disguised as hope. It comes as the storm, washing away everything that was never meant to stay. You've been living like happiness was rationed, like God only handed out a limited supply and you'd already used up your portion. But what if happiness is like the air you breathe, abundant, available, surrounding you at every moment? The prophet Isaiah understood this when he wrote, "You will go out in joy and be led forth in peace." Not you might go out, or if you're good enough, you'll go out. You will go out. Present tense. Certain. Assured. And if joy comes Friday, imagine what Saturday will become. Imagine Sunday morning when you wake up and realize that happiness didn't visit you for the weekend, it moved in permanently. Imagine Monday arriving and you actually smile because you've discovered that every day carries the seed of joy, waiting to bloom in the soil of your awareness. This isn't positive thinking, dear one. This isn't wishful hoping. This is prophetic declaration. Your Friday happiness is the down payment on a lifetime of peace that passes understanding. But I need you to understand something that might shake you. This happiness that's finding you, it's not accidental, it's not luck, it's not even answered prayer, though your prayers have been heard. This happiness is inheritance. It's what you were born to carry. It's what the enemy has been trying to steal from you for decades, convincing you that joy belonged to everyone else but not to you. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But what did he come to steal first? Your joy, because he knows that a joyful believer is unstoppable. A happy saint is dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. A peaceful heart is a throne where Jesus sits and rules. Right now, as these words penetrate your spirit, I want you to do something. Right now, let a smile break across your face. Don't analyze it, don't question it, just let it happen. That smile isn't emotion, it's prophecy in motion. It's your face prophesying the joy that's already en route to your heart. Feel how different your body feels when you smile. Feel how the atmosphere around you shifts. That's not psychology, that's spiritual physics. When you align with joy, joy aligns with you. And here's the question that will determine whether you receive this happiness or let it pass by. Are you finally ready to stop earning what's already yours? Chosen one, I need you to stop thinking about Friday the way the world has programmed you to think about it. Because while everyone else is celebrating the end of another week, heaven is orchestrating the beginning of your breakthrough. And that breakthrough doesn't wait for Saturday morning sunshine. It comes in the darkness. It comes at midnight. Friday midnight is not the end. It is heaven's hinge, the sacred threshold where yesterday's struggles die and tomorrow's miracles are born. This isn't just poetic language, beloved. This is biblical reality. At midnight, shackles broke for Paul and Silas in that Philippian prison. Acts 16:25 tells us they were praying and singing hymns at midnight when suddenly an earthquake shook the foundations. Every door flew open and every prisoner's chains fell off. At midnight, the cry of freedom pierced Egypt. Exodus 11:4 declares that at midnight the Lord struck down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, but passed over his chosen people. Midnight was liberation hour. Midnight was when bondage ended and freedom began. At midnight, joy crosses the threshold. But here's what's breaking my heart right now. How many of you have been conditioned to fear the darkness? How many of you dread Friday night because it means you're alone with your thoughts, alone with your worries, alone with the weight of another week that didn't deliver what you hoped for? You've been taught that midnight means loneliness, that darkness means defeat. That Friday night is just the pause before you have to face another Monday morning. That's a lie from the pit of hell. What if your happiness is not daytime laughter that fades when the sun goes down? What if your happiness is not weekend relief that disappears by Sunday evening? What if your joy is not dependent on daylight at all, but birthed in the very darkness that terrifies everyone else? Psalm 30:5 promises that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. But here's what most people miss: that verse doesn't say joy comes after midnight. It says joy comes in the morning. And when does morning begin? At 12:01 a.m., the very first, second after midnight. Your Friday midnight is the doorway to Saturday morning joy. You've been looking at the clock wrong, chosen one. When it strikes midnight, you don't lose Friday. You gain Saturday. You don't enter emptiness. You enter possibility. You don't step into an ending. You step into a beginning that heaven has been preparing while you slept. Listen to me carefully. Midnight doesn't mean over. Midnight means overflow. The same darkness that makes others tremble is the womb where your miracle is being formed. Midnight doesn't mean silence. Midnight means shift. The atmospheric pressure around your life changes when the clock strikes 12 because you're crossing from one realm of possibility into another. Midnight doesn't mean alone. Midnight means aligned with the God who never sleeps, never slumbers, and works his greatest wonders while the world is unconscious. Think about this. Why do you think the enemy attacks hardest in the dark hours? Why do you think anxiety peaks at 3 a.m.? Why do you think your deepest fears whisper loudest when the sun goes down? Because he knows something you're just now remembering. He knows that darkness is not his domain, it's God's laboratory. He knows that midnight is not defeat time, it's breakthrough time. But here's the question that will determine everything. Are you going to keep letting Friday midnight feel like a funeral, or are you going to start treating it like the resurrection morning it actually is? I'm talking to the grandmother sitting in her empty house tonight, watching the clock tick toward midnight, feeling forgotten by family who are too busy to call. Beloved, your midnight is not punishment for growing old. Your midnight is preparation for something new to grow. The silence in your house is not emptiness, it's sacred space for God to speak without interruption. I'm talking to the grandfather lying awake at 11:47 p.m., worried about bills that don't add up, insurance that doesn't cover enough, medications that cost more than groceries. Your Friday midnight is not a countdown to financial disaster. It's a countdown to divine provision that operates outside banking hours. I'm talking to every senior citizen who has been told by this world that your usefulness expired with your career, that your impact ended with your retirement, that your purpose died with your spouse. Friday midnight is God's way of saying, I'm not finished with you yet. Your greatest chapter is about to begin when the world thinks your story is over. Here's the revolutionary truth. Your Friday midnight breakthrough doesn't need daylight to be real. It doesn't need witnesses to be valid. It doesn't need applause to be powerful. Some of God's greatest moves happen in the secret place, in the silent hours, in the darkness where only you and He are present. The prison doors that need to open in your life, the depression, the loneliness, the fear, the regret, they don't wait for business hours to break. The chains that have held your joy captive, they don't need morning light to shatter. Your freedom is available at midnight. Your breakthrough is scheduled for the dark hour. And here's what the enemy never wants you to realize. When you learn to find joy at midnight, when you discover peace in the darkness, when you locate God's presence in the very hours that used to terrify you, you become unstoppable. Because if you can worship at midnight, you can worship anywhere. If you can find hope in darkness, you can find it everywhere. If you believe your Friday midnight will not break you but bless you, if you're ready to stop fearing the dark hours and start expecting them to birth something beautiful, type these words: midnight will not break me, it will bless me. Because the clock is about to strike 12, chosen one. And what happens next depends on whether you're going to cower in the darkness or dance in the revolution that only happens when heaven moves at midnight. But here's what nobody talks about in church, chosen one. Here's the part they skip over in the Sunday sermons, the chapter they rush through in their hurry to get to resurrection morning. What about Saturday? What about that silent, suffocating space between Friday's cross and Sunday's empty tomb? What about those 36 hours when even the disciples thought it was over? When Mary Magdalene wept because she believed her Savior was gone forever? When Peter sat in that upper room, probably staring at his hands, remembering how those same hands had denied the Christ 3 times? That's where you are right now, isn't it? You're living in Saturday, the day the Bible barely mentions, the day that feels forgotten by heaven itself. You wake up at 4 a.m. in that empty house, and the silence is so thick you can taste it. The phone that used to ring with your children's voices now sits silent on the kitchen counter next to those 7 prescription bottles. 7 different medications for 7 different ways. Your body is reminding you that you're running out of time. This is your Saturday. This is your valley. You remember when Friday was different, don't you? When Friday meant paychecks and possibilities, when it meant dinner plans and date nights, when your hands were strong enough to hold more than just pill bottles and television remotes, when your voice mattered in rooms full of people who actually listened. But somewhere along the way, Friday became just another day to endure. Another 24 hours to survive until you can close your eyes and hope tomorrow brings something different. Except tomorrow keeps looking exactly like today. You've been praying the same prayer for months now, maybe years. God, just let me see my grandchildren grow up. God, just let the pain stop for one day. God, just let someone remember that I'm still here. But heaven feels like it's made of brass, and your words bounce back down to you like coins thrown into an empty well. This is why you feel forgotten, beloved. Because you're living in the valley between promise and fulfillment. Between I will never leave you and the empty chair at your dinner table. Between I know the plans I have for you and the medical bills that keep coming. Between weeping endures for a night and nights that seem to last forever. But listen to me carefully, chosen one. Listen with every fiber of your being. Valleys are not graves. Valleys are wombs. What feels like burial is actually planting. What looks like ending is actually beginning. What sounds like silence is actually heaven holding its breath, waiting for the perfect moment to exhale resurrection into your situation. Do you think Jesus felt forgotten on Saturday? Do you think, in that tomb, wrapped in burial cloths, his human heart didn't cry out, "Father, where are you?" Do you think the Son of God didn't experience that same crushing weight of abandonment that you feel when you wake up alone in that bed where your spouse used to sleep? But here's what Satan doesn't want you to understand about valleys. Here's the secret the enemy has been hiding from you, behind your depression, your loneliness, your fear that God has moved on without you. Valleys are where rivers run deepest. Valleys are where the richest soil collects. Valleys are where seeds that have been dormant for decades suddenly burst into life because the conditions are finally right. Your valley isn't your punishment, dear one. Your valley is your preparation. Every tear you've cried into that pillow has been watering ground that you can't even see yet. Every prayer that felt unanswered has been adding nutrients to soil that's getting ready to birth something you never imagined. Every night you felt like giving up has been building the kind of root system that can support the kind of blessing that would have crushed you if it had come earlier. But I need you to understand something that's going to shake you to your core. Something that's going to change how you see every lonely morning, every silent evening, every moment when you felt like God wasn't listening. You are not in this valley by accident. You were led here, not by your mistakes, not by your bad decisions, not by life's cruel randomness. You were led here by the same God who led Jesus into the wilderness, by the same God who led the Israelites through the valley of the shadow of death, by the same God who knows exactly where you are and exactly how long you need to be here. Because valleys teach us things that mountaintops never could. In the valley, you learn to listen for God's voice when there's no crowd cheering. In the valley, you discover strength you didn't know you had when there's no one else to depend on. In the valley, you develop faith that doesn't need evidence because you've learned to trust the heart of God when you can't see the hand of God. This is why Satan fights so hard to keep you discouraged in the valley, because he knows what God is building in you down there. He knows that when you finally emerge, and you will emerge, you won't just be older. You'll be wiser. You won't just be tired. You'll be tested. You won't just be survivors. You'll be generals in God's army, carrying authority that can only be forged in the fires of the valley. Whisper it aloud right now, wherever you are. Don't just think it. Speak it into the atmosphere. I am planted, not buried. Say it again. Louder this time. I am planted, not buried. Because your Saturday is almost over, chosen one. And when Sunday morning breaks over your life, you're going to understand why the valley was necessary, why the silence was sacred, why the waiting was actually working. But first, you need to understand what's really happening in your valley right now. You need to see what God sees when He looks down at your Saturday. Because what you think is abandonment is actually appointment. Chosen one, I need you to stop where you are and feel something. Do you sense it? That presence hovering just beyond your peripheral vision. That warmth wrapping around your shoulders when you thought you were completely alone. You are not alone. You have never been alone. Right now, as you listen to these words, angels are watching. Not from some distant celestial balcony, but here. Close enough to count your tears. Close enough to hear your midnight whispers. Close enough to feel your heart breaking under the weight of another sleepless Thursday night. They lean in when you worship through your pain. They stand guard when you collapse into bed, soaked in tears you can't explain. They witness every moment when you thought no one saw, no one cared, no one understood the depth of your silent suffering. Let me paint you a picture that will shatter your loneliness forever. Picture the hospital room where you sat vigil over your dying spouse. You thought you were alone in that sterile darkness, watching machines beep away the final hours of 50 years of marriage. But you weren't alone. Angels of comfort stood in every corner, their wings stretched wide, absorbing every sob, collecting every tear in golden vials before the throne of God. Picture your empty kitchen table where you've eaten dinner alone for 3 years now. The chair across from you sits vacant, mocking your solitude. But it's not empty. An angel of companionship sits there every evening, ministering to your heart in ways your mind cannot comprehend. Picture that cold apartment at 3 a.m., when depression weighs so heavy on your chest, you can barely breathe. When you whisper into the darkness, God, are you even there? In that moment, angels of hope surround your bed like a wall of fire, pushing back the spirit of despair that seeks to devour your faith. You think you're forgotten, but heaven has assigned specific angels to your case. They know your name, they know your address, they know exactly how many pills are in that bottle you keep looking at. And they will not let you go. But here's what will blow your mind about this Friday. Even on the cross, when Jesus hung between two thieves, when darkness covered the earth from noon until 3 o'clock, when it looked like the greatest defeat in human history, angels were watching. They were waiting. They were guarding the script that you couldn't read yet. Matthew 28:2 tells us that an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and rolled back the stone. Not slowly, not carefully. The earth shook. The guards fainted. Because sometimes heaven's intervention comes with such force that even the Roman Empire trembles. That same angelic power that shook the tomb is assigned to your Friday. That same supernatural force that turned humanity's darkest day into its brightest dawn is hovering over your circumstances right now. Why do you think your pain has been so intense? Why do you think the enemy has attacked your family so viciously? Why do you think every door seems to slam shut just when breakthrough appears within reach? Because the angels see what you cannot see. They see the destiny you carry. They see the breakthrough that's coming. They see the joy that's been scheduled for your Friday. And hell is terrified. Psalm 91:11 promises, "For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways." Not some of your ways, not just the good days, all your ways. Even when you can't find your way, even when you've lost your way, even when you've given up on finding your way. But here's the mystery that will change everything about how you see your struggles. Angels don't just protect you from trouble, they collect your tears as evidence for your court case in heaven. Every injustice you've endured, every betrayal that cut deep, every time you chose forgiveness when revenge felt more satisfying, it's all been recorded by angelic witnesses. Your pain has been documented. Your faithfulness has been noted. Your perseverance has been entered into the permanent record. And now, this Friday, the verdict comes down. Do you know what angels do when God declares judgment in favor of his chosen ones? They don't whisper. They don't tiptoe. They move with the force of Hurricane Katrina, except this storm brings restoration instead of devastation. Can you feel them stirring around your life right now? Can you sense the shift in the spiritual atmosphere? That's not your imagination. That's confirmation that your case has been heard, your tears have been counted, and your Friday has been marked for supernatural intervention. In Revelation 8:3-4, John saw an angel take the prayers of the saints and mix them with incense before the throne of God. Then fire was hurled to the earth. Your decades of desperate prayers haven't been lost in cosmic space. They've been stored up, concentrated, and they're about to be released with the force of accumulated intercession. This Friday isn't just another day. It's the day your angelic witnesses present their evidence. It's the day heaven responds to the cries you thought went unheard. It's the day the supernatural breaks into your natural with such undeniable force that even your doubts will be silenced. But here's what requires your participation. Angels respond to agreement. They move when you acknowledge their presence. They activate when you align with their assignment over your life. If you sense you are not alone, if you can feel the wings of heaven surrounding your Friday, if something in your spirit is confirming that breakthrough is closer than it appears, don't just sit there passively. Declare it. Type, "Heaven is with me." Because when you acknowledge the angelic witnesses, you give them permission to testify on your behalf. And when angels testify, the impossible becomes inevitable. But what happens when you finally understand that your Friday isn't just about your happiness, it's about your vindication? Chosen one, I need you to do something that might terrify you. Right now, wherever you are sitting, I want you to get up. Walk to the nearest mirror. Go ahead. Don't think about it. Just do it. Look at yourself. Really look. What do you see staring back at you? Do you see someone who's been defeated by time? Someone who's been worn down by decades of disappointment? Someone who's convinced themselves that happiness is for younger people, for luckier people, for anyone but you? That's exactly what the enemy wants you to see. But let me tell you what heaven sees when it looks at you in that mirror. Look at those lines around your eyes. The world calls them wrinkles, but God calls them roadmaps of resilience. Every single crease tells a story of a storm you weathered, a mountain you climbed, a valley you walked through when quitting would have been easier than breathing. See that gray hair catching the light? Society says it's a sign you're past your prime. But Scripture declares in Proverbs 16:31, "Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." That's not decline you're looking at, beloved. That's a crown. That's honor. That's proof you've been tested by fire and refined like silver. Those scars on your hands, on your heart, in places no one else can see, they're not marks of failure. They're badges of victory. Every wound tells the story of a battle where hell tried to take you out, but heaven said, "Not today." You've been looking in mirrors your whole life and seeing the wrong thing. You've been trained to see limitation where God sees liberation. You've been programmed to see endings where the Almighty sees new beginnings. But here's the shocking truth that will revolutionize everything you believe about yourself. The happiness you've been searching for in your children's approval, in your doctor's reports, in your bank statements, in your next birthday, hoping it will somehow be different. It was never out there. It's been staring back at you in that mirror every single day. Jesus said in Luke 17:21, "The kingdom of God is within you, not will be within you, not might be if you're good enough, is within you." Right now, this very moment, the joy you've been begging God to send you, you're already carrying it. You've been like a millionaire searching for loose change in the couch cushions. You've been like someone drowning in a swimming pool, not realizing they can stand up. You've been carrying the very treasure you've been praying to find. Look deeper into those eyes in the mirror, past the tiredness, past the disappointment, past the fear that your best days are behind you. Do you see it? That flicker? That spark that persecution couldn't kill, that betrayal couldn't extinguish, that age couldn't diminish. That's not hope you're looking at. That's not wishful thinking. That's the indestructible joy of the Lord that Nehemiah 8:10 promises is your strength. But here's why you've missed it for so long. Here's why you've been looking right at happiness and not recognizing it. The world taught you to look for happiness in circumstances, in outcomes, in other people's behavior, in external validation. But divine joy doesn't come from the outside in, it flows from the inside out. You've been waiting for Friday to make you happy, but Friday can't give you what you already possess. Friday can only reveal what was already there. Friday is not your source, Friday is your mirror. The happiness you're going to feel today isn't being delivered to you, it's being awakened in you. Right now, still looking in that mirror, I want you to say something out loud. Don't whisper it, don't think it, speak it with authority. I already carry joy. Say it again, louder this time. I already carry joy. Feel how different those words taste in your mouth compared to I'm waiting for happiness. Feel how your shoulders straighten when you declare ownership instead of dependency. You are not waiting for happiness, chosen one. Happiness has been waiting for you to remember where you put it. For 70 years, maybe 80, maybe 90 years, you've been asking God to send you joy. But He's been whispering back, I already did. I hid it inside you where thieves can't steal it, where time can't erode it, where circumstances can't touch it. This is why Friday will make you happy. Not because Friday has magical powers, but because Friday is the day you stop looking everywhere else and start looking where joy has always lived, in the sacred chamber of your spirit, where Christ Himself has taken up residence. 1 John 4:4 declares, Greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. The joy inside you is greater than any sorrow outside you. The peace within you is stronger than any storm around you. The happiness dwelling in your spirit is more powerful than any circumstance trying to steal it. You've been searching the world for what you've been carrying all along. You've been begging heaven for what was already your inheritance. You've been waiting for Friday to deliver what was deposited in you before time began. But the question that will determine whether this revelation transforms your life or just gives you a momentary feeling is this. Will you finally stop looking for happiness in all the wrong places and start accessing the joy that's been locked inside you, waiting for your recognition? But here's where this Friday revelation becomes absolutely mind-blowing, chosen one. The joy that's flooding your spirit right now, it's not meant to stop with you. It's not designed to stay locked inside your heart like some precious secret you hoard in silence. Listen to me carefully. When Friday joy enters your spirit, it doesn't stay contained. It spills. It overflows. It cascades into your children who haven't called you in weeks. It pours into your grandchildren who think you're just another old-fashioned voice from a bygone era. It even touches strangers who meet you in the grocery store checkout line, wondering why your presence feels different from everyone else's. You think your joy is just personal therapy. You think this Friday breakthrough is just about making you feel better. Dear one, you're thinking too small, way too small. The Apostle Paul understood this when he wrote in 2 Corinthians 1-4, "He comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others." Your Friday joy isn't just comfort, it's contagious medicine. It's spiritual DNA that rewrites the genetic code of everyone in your bloodline. Think about this for a moment. How many generations in your family have settled for surviving Fridays instead of thriving in them? How many of your ancestors dragged themselves through the end of every week, believing that exhaustion was their inheritance? How many times have you watched your own children repeat the same pattern, working themselves to death, forgetting how to smile, treating joy like it's a luxury they can't afford? That pattern ends today. That generational curse of joylessness gets shattered this Friday. Because here's the prophetic truth that will revolutionize your understanding. One smile at Friday becomes 10 ripples by Saturday, and by Sunday it becomes a wave that crashes over your entire family tree. Your daughter who's been stressed about her mortgage, she's going to call you this weekend, and something in your voice is going to calm the storm in her heart. Your grandson who's been struggling with depression, when he sees you next, he's going to notice something different in your eyes, a light that wasn't there before. Your neighbor who's been battling loneliness since her husband died, the joy radiating from your porch is going to give her permission to hope again. This is how heaven operates, beloved. God doesn't waste miracles on individuals. He multiplies them through relationships. Isaiah 55:11 declares, "My word that goes out from my mouth will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." The joy breaking through your Friday is God's word made manifest in your life. And it's not returning empty. It's accomplishing something magnificent, the transformation of everyone connected to your story. But here's what's going to shake you to your core. This Friday joy you're experiencing, it's not just changing your weekend, it's rewriting your legacy. It's not just affecting your mood, it's altering your inheritance. 20 years from now, when your great-grandchildren gather around holiday tables, they're going to tell stories about you. But what kind of stories will they tell? Will they remember you as the grandmother who complained about everything? The grandfather who was always tired, always worried, always heavy with the weight of the world? Or will they remember you as the one who carried light? The one whose Friday joy was so infectious that it changed the entire atmosphere of every room you entered? The one who proved that age doesn't dim the spirit, it concentrates it. Here's the climax that's going to leave you breathless. Your Friday joy is not survival, it's inheritance. It will outlive you. It will echo through generations you'll never meet. It will touch lives you'll never know. Because joy, real joy, spiritual joy, becomes spiritual DNA that gets passed down through bloodlines like a sacred torch. Your great-great-grandchildren will carry fragments of this Friday's breakthrough in their cellular memory. They won't understand why they're naturally more hopeful, naturally more resilient, naturally more trusting of God's goodness. But you'll know. From whatever realm you're watching from, you'll know that your choice to embrace joy on this Friday created a ripple effect that changed the trajectory of your entire family line. This is why the enemy fought so hard to keep you discouraged. This is why he whispered lies about your age, your relevance, your impact. because he knew that if you ever tapped into your Friday joy, if you ever realized the generational power you carry, his grip on your family would be broken forever. The devil doesn't fear your personal happiness. He fears your contagious joy. He doesn't tremble at your individual breakthrough. He trembles at the thought of your breakthrough becoming your family's inheritance. But it's too late now. The ripple has already started. The wave is already building. And there's nothing hell can do to stop what heaven has set in motion through your Friday joy. You are not just getting through another day, chosen one. You are becoming a generational game changer. You are shifting the spiritual climate of your bloodline. You are proving that joy doesn't decrease with age, it multiplies through experience. If you want this joy to ripple through your family, if you want this Friday breakthrough to become your generational inheritance, then participate in this prophetic act right now. Type the names of your children and grandchildren in the comments below. Don't just think their names, declare them. Because when you type their names in faith, you're prophetically releasing this Friday joy over their lives. The question that will determine your legacy is this: will your Friday joy stay with you? Or will it become the inheritance that transforms everyone who carries your name? Some of you sitting there right now. Your phone hasn't rung in 3 weeks. Your children live 20 minutes away but might as well be on Mars. The church pew where you sat faithfully for 40 years is now filled by strangers who don't even know your name. You feel erased, discarded, like yesterday's newspaper thrown in the trash. But let me tell you something that's going to shatter the lie you've been believing. God specializes in the return of the forgotten. You think I'm talking theology? No, beloved. I'm talking about your reality. That empty chair at Thanksgiving dinner, that silent phone during your birthday, that grandchild who hasn't hugged you in 2 years because they're too busy with their screens and their lives that don't include you. The world has taught you that aging means fading, that growing older means growing invisible, that your golden years are really just your forgotten years. That's not God's design. That's humanity's failure. Look at Joseph. Thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold like livestock, falsely accused and forgotten in an Egyptian prison for years. The butler he helped completely forgot about him. Genesis 40:23 says it plainly, yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Forgotten. For 2 entire years, Joseph rotted in that prison while the world moved on without him. Can you imagine the nights he lay on that cold stone floor, wondering if his dreams were just delusions, wondering if God had erased his name from the book of purpose? But then, Pharaoh had a dream, and suddenly, in one supernatural moment, the forgotten became the unforgettable. Genesis 41:14 tells us, "Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon." Hastily, not gradually, not eventually, hastily. That's how God works when he decides it's time to remember you. You've been in your dungeon, haven't you? The dungeon of irrelevance, the dungeon of being overlooked, the dungeon of watching life happen around you while you feel like a ghost in your own story. But Friday is when heaven breaks open dungeons. Think about the prodigal son. Luke 15 tells us he had squandered everything. He was feeding pigs, eating their food, forgotten by everyone who once knew him. His father's friends probably whispered, "Whatever happened to that boy?" They had written his obituary while he was still breathing. But when he turned toward home, the Bible says his father saw him when he was yet a great way off. The father wasn't casually glancing down the road. He was watching, waiting, hoping. And when he saw that familiar walk in the distance, he ran. An old man ran down a dusty road because his forgotten son was coming home. Your heavenly Father is watching that road too. And Friday is the day he's been waiting for. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you have convinced yourselves that your time is over, that you missed your moment, that God moved on to the younger generation with their energy and their Instagram followers and their viral testimonies. You think because your knees creak and your eyes need glasses and your children treat you like a burden that somehow heaven has downgraded your value. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. When Jesus hung on that cross, when the sky turned black and the earth shook, when even his closest disciples scattered like leaves in the wind, was he forgotten? For 3 days, it looked like the greatest story ever told had ended in the greatest defeat ever recorded. The tomb was sealed. The guards were posted. Even the angels seemed silent. But Sunday morning came, and with it, the most spectacular return in human history. Dead men don't rise. Forgotten dreams don't resurrect. Lost causes don't suddenly become victorious. Unless God decides it's time to remember, you've been living in your Saturday. That day between the crucifixion and the resurrection where everything feels dead, everything feels over, everything feels forgotten. But Friday isn't just the end of your week, chosen one. Friday is your Friday of preparation, the day before your Sunday morning breakthrough. How many of you right now feel like you're talking to walls? Like your wisdom falls on deaf ears? Like your prayers bounce off the ceiling? Like the very people you sacrificed everything for now act like you're an inconvenience? The enemy has convinced you that being forgotten by people means being forgotten by God. That's the biggest lie ever told. In Isaiah 49:15, God says something that should stop you in your tracks. Can a woman forget her sucking child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. They may forget, your children may forget, your friends may forget, your church may forget, your community may forget, but I will not forget you. And Friday, beloved Friday, is when that promise becomes your reality. Right now, as you're hearing these words, something is shifting in the heavenly realm. Angels are receiving new assignments with your name on them. Doors that have been rusted shut are getting oiled. Phones that haven't rung are about to start ringing. Not because you deserve it, not because you earned it, but because you are unforgettable to the one who created you. If you have felt forgotten, if loneliness has been your longest companion, if you've wondered if anyone would notice if you just disappeared, I need you to do something right now. Declare it out loud. Heaven has not forgotten me. Say it until your voice shakes with belief. Say it until the walls of your isolation start cracking. Say it until the lie of abandonment loses its grip on your heart. Because this Friday isn't just another Friday. It's the Friday when the forgotten get remembered, when the invisible become undeniable, when the discarded discover they were actually being preserved. Your return isn't coming. Your return is here, and it starts with the sunrise of this sacred day. But the question that will determine everything is this: are you ready to stop hiding in the shadows of being forgotten and step into the light of being unforgettable? Chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to carry these truths with you like precious treasures in your heart. Remember this: Friday isn't just another day, it's God's divine appointment with your joy. You are not forgotten, you are not abandoned, and you are certainly not invisible to the one who created you. The same God who remembered Joseph in that prison cell, who welcomed the prodigal son home, who raised Jesus from the tomb, that same God is working in your life right now, orchestrating your return from the shadows of being overlooked. Your age is not your limitation, it's your qualification. Your scars are not your shame, they're your credentials. Your years of waiting were not wasted. They were preparation for this moment when heaven says, now is your time. But beloved, I need you to know something deeper than knowledge. You are not walking this path alone. Even when your phone doesn't ring, even when the dinner table feels too big, even when the silence seems overwhelming, the Creator of the universe is closer than your next breath. He's been orchestrating every detail of your story, and Friday is just the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. And right here, in this community of faith, you have thousands of brothers and sisters who understand your heart. We see you, we hear you, we believe in the calling on your life. This isn't just a YouTube channel, this is a family united by hope, bound together by the love of Christ, and committed to reminding each other that our best days are not behind us, they're ahead of us. Let me ask you this final question. and let it settle deep in your spirit. If God has brought you this far through every valley, every storm, every season, when you felt forgotten, why would He abandon you now, at the threshold of your greatest breakthrough? Before I release you into your blessed Friday, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over your life with the authority of 5 decades walking with the Almighty. Heavenly Father, the Ancient of Days, the God who sees every tear and hears every whispered prayer, I lift up every precious soul who has walked with us through this message today. Lord, you know their names, you know their struggles, you know the nights they've cried themselves to sleep, feeling forgotten by the world. But Father, you have never forgotten them, not for one moment, not for one breath. Their names are engraved on your palms, written in your book, spoken in the councils of heaven. I pray that you would breathe fresh hope into their weary hearts right now. Where they feel abandoned, remind them that you will never leave nor forsake them. Where they feel invisible, let them feel your loving gaze upon them. Where they feel useless, awaken them to the truth that their finest hour is still ahead. Lord, bless their Friday with supernatural joy. Open doors that have been closed. Restore relationships that seemed impossible to heal. Let their phones ring with good news. Let their mailboxes hold unexpected blessings. Let their hearts overflow with the happiness they thought was reserved for others. Give them strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Surround them with your angels. Fill their homes with your peace. Let them sleep tonight knowing they are loved beyond measure, chosen beyond doubt, and blessed beyond their wildest dreams. And Father, use their stories, every painful chapter, every triumphant moment, to encourage others who feel forgotten. Let their lives become lighthouses for souls lost in the darkness of loneliness. In the mighty name of Jesus, who was forsaken so they would never be forgotten, I seal this prayer with faith, hope, and love. Amen. Now, beloved, I want to hear from you. Share in the comments below how God spoke to your heart today. Tell us what you're believing Him for in this season. Ask us to pray with you, because this community will surround you with intercession and love. Don't carry your burdens alone when you have a family ready to help bear them. And if this message touched your soul, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not forgotten. There's someone in your life right now, a neighbor, a friend, maybe even a family member, who's been feeling invisible, overlooked, cast aside. Be the voice that reminds them they matter to God. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for letting these words penetrate the sacred chambers of your soul. Your faithfulness to watch until the very end tells me everything I need to know about your character. You are a finisher. You are faithful. And God has beautiful plans for your life. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. We're building something beautiful here together, a community where faith grows, hope is restored, and the forgotten are remembered. Every week, we gather to remind each other that we are chosen, we are loved, and we are never alone. Until we meet again, walk in the certainty that your Friday is blessed, your weekend is covered, and your future is bright. You are not forgotten, you are unforgettable. God bless you, chosen one. Your story is far from over. The best chapters are yet to be written.